Charlie McGee creates a burning ring of fire, while Rainbird lets the body count grow higher, and it burns, 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 this desecration of Firestarter, which was directed by Keith Thomas, who did The Vigil. You should absolutely check that out after you're done checking out the scathing rant of a remake of Firestarter. That came out in 1984, based on a novel by Stephen King. That was a really good movie, even if it was a bit uneven and a bit messy and had really big goddamn hair and even bigger shoulder pads and also really, really big hair, and pretty much helped continue the launch of Drew Barrymore's career. I can't imagine this movie is going to launch any goddamn careers. It comes to us from Universal and Blumhouse, and of course, it comes to us from Blumhouse, or Blumhouse, however you fucking say it. There are two types of Blumhouse movies. You're either going to get something really, really good like the Invisible Man remake, or you're going to get something like Fantasy Island. They came out in the same goddamn month in 2020. This is bad Blumhouse. This is really, really catastrophically bad Blumhouse. I couldn't fucking believe how bad this movie is. And if you're wondering how I already have a review out, well, it's in theaters and streaming on The Cock. And somebody at Peacock, The Cock, decided to hit send on The Cock, and they're like, fuck it, let's just put this out, and let's see if people maybe will watch it. And word of mouth will not spread. This movie is absolute goddamn dog shit and should have been burned to the fucking ground. In case you can't tell, I really didn't like this movie. So if you're unfamiliar with the story of Firestarter, Twisted Firestarter, Charlie McGee set them ablaze, blaze, blaze. Check out my retro review of the first Firestarter if you want to see exactly what I thought of that. That movie was by no means perfect, but utilized the source material well. It was a good version and a good adaptation of the Stephen King material. I don't know who the fuck thought this was a good goddamn idea, but holy fucking shit! Whoever decided to piece this movie together like this should be fired out of a cannon into the sun. So who wrote this movie? Scott Teems. He's teeming with tedium, as it were. He did The Quarry and Halloween Kills. That fucking explains it, because Halloween Kills had absolutely atrocious writing and formatting. Evil Dies Tonight, if only that movie's brain had just died before they decided to format that way. Maybe they had done it literally any other way other than all the bullshit and supernatural stuff. And check out my review of Halloween Kills, and you'll find out that I really didn't care much for that movie. Hopefully Halloween Ends brings an end, and a positive end, to the trilogy, and they will never do another remake. Speaking of remakes, let's get back to Firestarter, Twisted Firestarter. Zac Efron plays the dad, Andy. And he's staying alive, ha 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 ha. Zac Efron is old enough to play dads in movies. My God, folks, we're all old, soon we're going to be in the goddamn ground, or we're going to be burned up in an incinerator, or possibly Charlie's just going to set us on fire. Speaking of who plays Charlie this time, Ryan Kiera Armstrong, who was Alma in the latest season of American Horror Story that was so goddamn renowned I couldn't even finish it because it was a terrible season. I liked American Horror Story. So, Sydney Lemon plays Vicky, who gets a little more screen time than Heather Locklear did as a mother. Sydney Lemon, by the way, is gorgeous. Really, really beautiful. I'd like to see her in more stuff. Michael Gray, yes, or Gray Eyes. The Grays, oh, gray eyes. And he sets his eyes upon you and controls your mind. Yeah, he plays Rainbird. We're not getting George C. Scott with the ponytail. We're getting some other weird guy who has a ponytail. And as I'll get into spoilers here in a few minutes, because there's a lot to fucking unpack here with this bullshit. But Gloria Rubin, who has been in a lot of good stuff, this is a complete waste of her. She has the Martin Sheen character, Captain Hollister, and is completely just cut down to like nothing. Very one note. Really, really bad writing, which comes from, again, the person that wrote Halloween Kills. Scott Teems should probably go to another writing class, or any fucking writing class, and figure out how to make anything that isn't complete dog shit. Kurtwood Smith, by the way. Yeah, Red from that 70s show. They could have utilized him in some kind of serious role in what they do. They just hadn't spelled cliched stuff and stuff that was a complete recycling of all the scary stuff from the first one that came out 38 years ago. You could watch that one and still be scared by it. This one you're watching and you're like, wow, this is more of a comedy. This is supposed to be funny. I'm supposed to be laughing at this, right? So John Beasley, who has been a great character actor in a lot of stuff, is reduced to playing Irv and doesn't really get all that much time. This movie's 20 minutes shorter than the original, by the way. And yet somehow only manages to cover about 40% of the material from the original. I'm actually astonished that this movie somehow managed to get formatted and released. They had how many rewrites and how many, different takes that they could have used, and they did this. Granted, I didn't want to see any more of this shit, but I'm like, wow, 94 minutes, and they thought this was a good idea. There was a brief cameo from, a teacher played by Tina Jung, who, beautiful, absolutely, show her in more movies. I want to see what else she's been in. I will check out her IMDb after this, because she was trying to make the most of this as a teacher that was trying to help Charlie. So yeah, if you don't know the plot of Firestarter, I kind of just butchered it right there, but she is a twisted Firestarter. In the original, sorry, spoilers, the movie's been out for 38 fucking years, so apologies. That is also on the cock, if you want to check that out. The Fire Cock Starter, as it were. That sounds very painful. Charlie is created after Andy and Vicky get together. They are part of a psychotronic experiment, and then they get some drugs that get in their system, and then they try to run away. Boy, that was terrible rendition of that Talking Head song. But what other YouTube channel are you just going to hear random references? Because I'm just so pissed off and trying to tamp down my anger. So not that I'll set things on fire. I don't have that power. But goddamn, I just want to set the fucking screenplay on fire. Set every aspect of this movie on fire. Not the actors. It's not their fault. But goddamn, this movie should have been burned to the fucking ground. Burned to a crisp. So 20 minutes shorter than the original. So you want to be expedient about this. Or you want to tell the story in the stupidest way possible. Change characters around. Cut characters down and do all this stuff. And try to make it artsy at first. Make it where Charlie has her abilities, because Charlie is the daughter of Andy and Vicky, and she has these pyrokinetic abilities from the word go. That makes sense. You don't develop that shit over time. But, oh boy. Charlie just has these gifts and knows about these gifts. She's a little bit older, I think, meant to be a little bit older than Drew Barrymore. So you're thinking maybe the Firestarter stuff is because she's hitting puberty. Okay, that might have been a different way to tell it. It would have been very reminiscent of Turning Red, ironically, which is a really good movie and did not deserve the hate that it got. But she's talking to her dad about the gifts, and Vicky's alive in this movie a little bit more longer things, whatever. And we see VHS tapes of the opening credits and stuff like that, and we then get various characters from the original put into this and mashed around in Human Centipede together in the worst way possible, and villains, or people that were villains that were integral to the first movie, are afterthoughts here. One character, their stories completely fucking change around in the worst way possible. It actually is shockingly and bafflingly stupid, if that's even a fucking word, how batshit and terrible this movie is. I can't remember watching a remake any time within the past, I don't know, few years where I was surprised by how goddamn terrible this was. It's probably just slipping my mind because I watch a whole bunch of movies. I watched some movies in 2018, more in 2019, a lot in 2020, quite a few in last year, and I'm up to almost 60 that I've seen this year, and we're only in May because I have no life, and why not talk about it? This is a desecration of any good source material, and again, the first one wasn't even that great. But despite the fact that it was an hour and 54 minutes, sure, there were a couple moments that were a little bit long. Or just a little bit stretched out. It made the most of its runtime. It didn't feel like it was almost 2 hours. This is just over 90 minutes. Waste the musical skills of John Carpenter. John Carpenter, and I believe either his daughter or his wife had something to do with the music, and one other person. You could definitely tell that John Carpenter had a musical influence on this, which was pretty much the only good goddamn thing about it. That was when they were trying to make it a throwback and have the synth score. Here's the thing, the synth score was about the only bad thing about the first one, because it was just a little bit too loud, just kind of wore on your head. This was almost like, we're going to fan service this thing, and then we're going to butcher the rest of it. So great job, Blumhouse. You fucked all this shit up. Good job. I can't wait to see what you fuck up next. Oh, they're doing a they-them thing, or movie, rather, about a gay conversion camp that is besieged by a serial killer that comes out on August 5th on the cock, which actually might be good. It can't be worse than this. It can't be. Please don't let it be worse than this. The sad thing is that this isn't one of the worst movies that I've seen this year. By the end of the year, then this year is cursed. And there's been some damn good stuff that has come out and been quite enjoyable. Uncharted wasn't one of them. You can check out my review of that. But yeah, Firestarter is really, really bad. Really, really fucking bad. By the way, the best comparison I can come up with, did you see Brightburn? If so, you'd be one of the few people that did, because almost nobody saw Brightburn. It's like if you took aspects of that in Firestarter, Human Centipede them together, which I am trying to turn into a thing, and then made the writing even worse. And Brightburn leaned enough into its concept that it was fine. It wasn't great, but it was fine. This is basically the unofficial Brightburn sequel that nobody fucking asked for, even though, again, Brightburn wasn't that bad. This was just an amalgamation of bullshit, and it ended up being absolutely terrible. So yeah, I'm going to get into spoilers here, but it is on the cock if you want to check that out. These spoilers, honestly, will not take very long because I pretty much spoiled some of that stuff there. But yeah, you get to see a lot of really bad acting here. A lot of really bad acting, a lot of bad writing. Thanks, Scott Teams, you fucking idiot. And thanks for ruining the potential of Keith Thomas having any kind of career, because even if this movie is somewhat successful, they're going to have to give him stuff like The Vigil that was really, really good and a slow burn horror movie and terrific. And I think it's on Hulu currently. Check out the IMDb page and find out where it is. If you can only rent it on Amazon, rent it for a few bucks. It's worth it. This isn't. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. So, okay, let's get into that stuff. So we get VHS tape stuff playing over the opening credits and everything, because why the fuck wouldn't we have that? It's supposed to be like all like crazy. The problem is the opening credits happen 7 minutes into this movie, of a 94-minute movie. Not exactly being expedient about this. Andy does therapy stuff and helps people quit their cravings and just convinces them and uses his gifts, but he bleeds instead from the nose, he bleeds from the eyes. Okay, that's not a bad change. He's using his gifts. They won't have, they don't have Wi-Fi, they don't have cell phones. Why? Because they can be tracked. Because there's the DSI, not the shop. This is the DSI, the Digital Shop Incorporation, I guess. I don't fucking know what the hell it means. Maybe Dickwad Shithead Incorporated. I mean, well, that's a little bit mean. Disastrous Shop Incorporation. There we go. There it is. There's also some bullies that don't exactly get their comeuppance. They sort of do and they sort of don't, which I don't really fucking get why they did that. It seems like large chunks of this movie were left on the cutting room floor. I will not be watching a recut, though. I can't imagine you can make this movie any better. I mean, you can't make it much worse. Well, okay, they could. I shouldn't try to encourage them, because Hollywood will always do that. But anyway, they're playing dodgeball at one point, and a couple kids try to play around and hit her in the back of the head, and then she decides to try and control her gift and ends up blowing the stall door off the goddamn... Rip the door off its hinges. Yeah, that's me after pizza night. Have fun on seeing that. And... So, this is the main thing I want to talk about in spoilers. Remember Rainbird? You know, George C. Scott's character? He was a vicious killer. He had a ponytail and everything. Not David Carradine like ponytail, because George C. Scott didn't get roped into stuff like David Carradine did. If you get it, you get it. They made Rainbird an experiment. That he was a lab rat. That he was one of the people. He has the same powers that they do. He has telekinetic abilities. He can make people do things. He can do all this stuff. That wasn't what George C. Scott's character had. He was just a vicious killer. If he had them, they didn't really talk about them. He was just a vicious killer. He was a vicious son of a bitch that wanted to just murder people. I'm not saying that's okay, but that's all you really need. You just need that. And nope, they're going to give him the same psychic abilities and all this stuff and everything, and that's bullshit. And unfortunately, it wasn't the only time I called bullshit in that movie, or in this movie. Hollister is the new guard, so she employs Rainbird to go get him. Go get him, Tiger. It's not Tiger, but whatever. I'll just fucking go get him. Yeah, he has powers, and the mother basically takes the pictures and throws them against the goddamn wall. Don't you see the writing on the wall? No, those are pictures, goddammit. What the hell's going on with you? And then Rainbird spouts lines like, come peacefully and you will live. He's a Mortal Kombat villain. Surrender, so no one gets hurt. Too bad you will die. I'm sorry. This is just, god damn it. This kind of dialogue, this is what people get paid for. So anyway, and then eventually they escape Rainbird because she has a yoga ring of fire that she sends. It's like Saturn's rings exploding. The incredible melting man is upon us at any point. Nobody gets that. And then at one point, a cat scratches her and she sets it on fire. And I'm like, you know what? No. Eat shit, movie. No. I don't know if that was in the original book. I don't remember. I don't care. I have a thing about animal violence. No. And I nearly shut off the movie and said, that's it. Worst movie of the fucking year. But I'm like, you know what? I survived movies that had animal violence. But I was keeping an eye on it and be like, you do any more of that shit, and I'm really going to have to be me. And I know, look, it may seem like a dumb thing. I'm an animal person. People that are long-time subscribers or even short-time subscribers to the channel, you will have seen, you know, my cat, a.k.a. the producer, on camera. And I love animals. And I don't really like seeing that stuff. And I get that they're trying to make it where like she's vicious and she has to use her gift sparingly. But then she sets it on fire, but doesn't kill it, and the dad has to convince her to set it on fire the rest of the way while it's meowing weakly. This goes on way too long. And no. And yes, it played into a scene a little bit later, but nobody cared about the scene after that point. And then Kurtwood Smith basically just spouts the same damn dialogue about, oh, you know, she's going to come for us all. She's going to kill us all. God, I only wish that had happened in the goddamn movie before it got made. Could have just killed the script. So, yeah, we get Irv's character, who is not done by Art Carney, because I think Art Carney's been dead for a while. It kind of makes sense. He looked ancient there. But John Beasley basically gets wasted, literally, because he's drunk at one point. He's taking care of his wife, Essie, who is bedridden after a car accident. And the doctors were apparently, Irv is just drunk, pissed drunk, and listening to the news. Zac Efron basically tells Charlie, hey, this is what happened with your deal. Hey, you know, the doctor's worried about your birth. And then Irv calls the cops, but basically plays off the story plays it off as a story, as a dream that he had, after Charlie basically says, Essie told me she has these psychic abilities, pyrokinetic and telekinetic abilities. I can hear voices in my head. They talk to me. I'm going to set you on fire. They talk, weird rendition of the Randy Orton song there. Non-wrestling fans have no fucking idea who Randy Orton is. She forgives you. She forgives you. And that convinces him to go out and create this story. And then Rainbird shows up and shoots the cops and shoots him in the leg. And then Zac Efron tries to get him away, tries to get, you know, Charlie away. We're about 50 minutes into the movie, by the way, at this point, and we gotta really get going. It's agonizingly slow, yet somehow goddamn bullshit, just how crazy this movie drags and yet cuts large chunks out of the story. It's baffling how bad this is. And tells her to run away, so she does run away. He creates a scenario where Rainbird can't see her, but his powers are fading. And then people come in, you know, Hollister's crew, and it turns out that they have little contacts and everything, and they won't be possessed because we have little things in our eyes, and no, you can't use your powers on us. Ha ha ha. They might as well have laughed like supervillains by that point, because it would have made just as much sense as anything else. So anyway, then she goes out to find her dad, who calls her to that place, and then it turns out it was actually Rainbird, by the way, who killed her mother. He killed her mother. It wasn't the agents, it was him. Keep that in mind. So then she basically sets everybody on fire. Everybody. Sets her dad, her dad was basically dead anyway. If he used his last gift, his last push, as it were. Not the movie push that had Camilla Bell saying, I want you to put it in your mouth and pull the trigger. And I will not say my next line, but you can probably guess it. Putting in the mouth and pulling the trigger. Okay, never mind. Moving on. Basically, Hollister, before she gets set on fire, says, you're like a superhero. Like, oh, you don't want to use your power for like this. We could help you. And then, ow, you set me on fire. Bitch, how the hell could we have not seen this coming? And then she sets everybody on fire. Literally everybody. Probably cameramen, because they went through a lot of cameramen here. They should have, especially with how badly this movie was shot. But then Rainbird gets free. She sets a woman on fire. Liar, liar, pants on fire. This is when it tries to be the Brightburn sequel. And then She sets everybody. Everybody sets the flame-suited guys on fire. The sprinkler system comes down, and then Rainbird shoots them. She goes to set him on fire because he killed her mom, but then she decides not to. She looks at herself in the mirror and says, fuck it, and leaves. And then the place blows up. Then she's on the beach. Apparently they're right near the ocean. Nobody's eating cake by the ocean. That song lied to me. You lied to me. And then Rainbird says, offers a hand, carries her away. Why? Why didn't you set him on fire? He was the person that killed your mother? What the... Who formatted this? I want answers. If this isn't like the top 10 of the worst movies I've seen this year, oh boy. God damn it. I did not expect to be that frustrated by this, but this was fucking terrible. Objectively, well, maybe subjectively fucking terrible. It's a good thing that I watched this on Peacock so I could pause it after that cat burning scene, and also so I could pause it and say, my God, this movie is shit several times on my notes. This entire movie can eat shit, and I hope it burns. It needs a burn, 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 and a ring of fire. A burning ring of fire. So anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.